Steve.
Kicking off the show this morning, our guest, the congressman representing Mississippi's 4th Congressional District, Representative Steven Palazzo. Good morning, Representative. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Gerard, and thank you for having me on. I've been wondering with all this rain whether I need to start building a boat. Maybe call it Noah's Ark 2 or something like that. But thanks for having me on this morning.
You bet. Yeah, it seems like these showers we have been occurring here, certainly in central Mississippi. They're really severe. I mean, it's just big deluges of rain, flash flooding, and the like. Saw images from our friends just to the east in Pearl, Mississippi, and I know the Gulf Coast has been saturated somewhat down in your area as well, but we'll get through it as usual, and probably a month from now we'll be wanting a little of that rain to cool it off, I'm sure, is normally how it happens. But thanks for joining us. Wanted to first talk to you about this appointment. Republican leader over in the House, Kevin McCarthy, has asked you to serve on the American Security Task Force. Now, this is a new organization, is it not?
Well, it is a new organization, and the premises behind it is, we're not just going to sit back and allow the Democrats to ram their socialist agenda down the Americans' throats. I believe the majority of Americans want a strong and secure America, and that starts with securing our border. That starts with protecting our computers and our grids from cyber attack, and most importantly, it starts locally with our police officers who are on the front line protecting Americans, their lives, their liberty, and their property. And under the Democrats, I mean, they've tossed, I don't know why, but they've tossed all that out. And so what we're doing is we're going to be creating 7 task force. And, of course, I'm on the American Security Task Force to address things that are really more suited to my wheelhouse, and that's providing for, national security.
Yeah, the thing, just thinking about that task force and its mission, which I think is a good one, because it just seems to me like the Democrats are in denial about this nation's most pressing challenges. There's no crime. There's no situation at the border. There's no problem with these extended unemployment benefits. We got the jobs report out a couple of hours ago. It's not good, and the market is reacting negatively as a result of that. They're just in a state of denial about all these critical issues, especially in cybersecurity, as you talked about. The president yesterday was at a convenience store, I think. He was asked about the Russians' involvement in this most recent hack on software maker Kaseya, some folks I happen to know from being in the industry, and he had to pull notes out to answer this question. Like, this is perhaps the number one challenge to the existence, the function of this nation.
Yeah, it's scary, Gerard, and I think the American people see the president not having all the faculties needed to be not only the president of the greatest nation on earth, but also commander-in-chief of our armed forces. And, if the Americans are seeing this, the world's also watching, and they're worried and they're concerned. But, the Democrats, they're either in denial or they're in cahoots with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I think, there's some out there, and many of them are just afraid to stand up to Pelosi, the squad, mainstream media, and the billionaire progressives out there that could challenge them in a primary, but which to me, because they lack the courage to stand up to these groups, they're doing a huge disservice to their constituencies. Defunding the police. That's not affecting South Mississippi. We support our police here. We're going to continue to support our police, but it's in the Democrat-controlled communities where disproportionately the minority communities, which these people supposedly say they represent, are the ones that are going to be harmed the most.
Well, and you saw the results in the Democrat primary in New York City. Perhaps that is an indicator. Certainly, it's sending a strong message when you get someone that's more moderate in nature that wins the primary and is very pro-law enforcement. It's completely opposite of the prior de Blasio administration, which had nothing to do with police, frankly, and didn't seem to be supportive of them. And then they wonder why they all head for the hills and retire, and they can't recruit more. Well, if you don't respect them, if you denounce them, if you denigrate them, they're likely not to pursue that as a profession.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, de Blasio, he basically brought the war to the police officers. And the good news is many of them fought back. You know, the police unions, the chiefs of police, they stood up to him. But they can only do so much, when the city council comes in and cuts their budgets by, not tens of thousands, but by, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. You're going to have an unsafe city, just like you see all along the West Coast and cities controlled by Democrats. They don't have the courage to stand up and do what's right. You go back to Portland. I mean, the majority of the citizens in Portland, they want a police presence. They don't want their city occupied by Antifa and others who are there just to destroy and damage their property and harm their livelihoods. This anti-police, and they seem to double down on it.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah, so you've got your colleague, I say that rather loosely, but your colleague, Rashida Tlaib there in the House, a Democrat from Michigan, within the last 24 hours, she's a member of the Squad, far left progressive. She's calling for even looser immigration restrictions and the abolition of ICE and other law enforcement organizations involved in securing and protecting our border. I mean, she's calling them terrorists, not the cartels who are literally terrorizing people, threatening them with their lives, and in some cases murdering them, honestly, to get what they want. But yet she's calling our people who are doing their dead-level best to protect these people, even helping them cross the river, and to try to give them some comfort and get them taken care of. She's calling them terrorists. How can this happen in the U.S. Congress?
I guess the standards for members of Congress in her district are a lot lower than they are around America. But she's one of the most un-American members of Congress that I've ever known. And back in the days of, true patriotism and, more common values and unified American values, I mean, she would have, first of all, we wouldn't even know her name, much less would she be a member of Congress. But there's a huge crisis at the border. I mean, we have an all-out invasion. Biden and the Secretary of Homeland Security, they're all lying to the American people. The border is not closed. There's the hundreds a day of young men are crossing the border, not being apprehended. The drugs, the human trafficking, just the sex assaults on minor children, and everything that Biden and the Democrats are doing is costly to America. It's cruel not just to Americans, but also those who are trying to make that such a dangerous trip. And it's also cowardly that they're not standing up. But they were so hell bent to erase all the protections, all the good things that Donald Trump and the Republican Congress has done for the American people, that it's almost like, they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, because anything that Trump did, they're going to erase and they're going to try to replace it with something better. But look, walls work. We need the barriers. We need the additional resources, such as, more Border Patrol agents. We need the technology. But not only is Tlaib calling for everything to be defunded and open up, but also Nancy Pelosi through the Homeland Security Appropriations Committee is double downing as well, limiting the size of CBP, redirecting their missions, To me, with the Biden administration and his lackeys out there, it's very resemblant of President Johnson and his people when they were lying about the intervention into the Vietnam War, just outright lying to the American people. And so we have to stand up. The task force is going to do that. The American people need to do that. But most importantly, what I'm seeing is a resurgence of governors and state legislatures saying, hey, time out. We've had enough.
Totally
We're
agree.
going to start taking control in our own hands.
Well, It's been great to have you this morning, Congressman. Congratulations on this appointment. Looking hopefully for some big things, solutions to problems rather than exacerbation of those problems. That seems to be all we're getting from the left side of the House. But I appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Hey, listen, thank you for having me. And again, we have to secure our borders. We have to fund our police as if our lives depend on it, because they do. And we're gonna insulate ourselves on these cyber attacks, and we're gonna push back. So thank you.
Sounds great.
Hey, my grade for Biden for his first 6 months is a big fat F.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you got into the grade score yet, but
Appreciate
Gerard, thank you for what you do. You have a great day.
You too. We'll be back.